Vlad, I've never played either of these games, but listening to those crowds and the vibes coming off our sports reporters, I kind of wish I had. Way to go, WRAT Sports. You'll recall that our reporter Samson GTrack was at ZTS earlier this evening to report on their latest engine design. He was meant to give us an 8:30 news update from the Souriston North Recreation Complex, where a regional swimming competition is supposedly wrapping up tonight. But I understand he's been delayed. Gene, what's happening?
Jessica, my route took me north from ZTS towards the North Terminus Transit Hub, and I was then meant to catch the westbound train out to the rec complex. But as you can probably hear, we're in a sort of mini crisis of our own here. Our train can't be far from the transit hub, but it's currently sitting here in a pitch-black tunnel, and the passengers are, needless to say, a little edgy.
We understand from our last communication with Melanie Ross that a group of terrorists, or at least a gang of citizens with weapons, has taken over the entire subway system at North Terminus. Not only is the lifestyle center itself a disaster zone, but now people are literally trapped there due to this hijacking of the subway platform and the access routes. I assume this now means that you, along with the fellow riders on that train, and those in every other train normally flowing through that busy nexus, are caught in the chaos that incident has created. I can hear that there's a good deal of nervousness amongst your fellow passengers, but how are people taking this overall, Gene?
They're on the verge of outright panic, Jessica. From where I'm sitting, I see a steady flow of feeble flickering lights moving past my window as frightened riders using comlink LED energy for light push and shove their way along the tunnel, trying to get as far from the sounds of gunfire and the screams as they can. Those still inside my car are mostly staying put, for now. But you know that will not last as the general fear level heightens. I've done my best to calm the waters here, but already about a third of the car has emptied. We've had several new arrivals, people fleeing from platforms or trains stopped further up the tunnel. Too terror-stricken to feel their way any further through the blackness, worried they might get electrocuted any moment from stumbling across a live rail, not even sure where they are or where they're going. Just away. Always away.
It sounds terrifying enough just from your description, Gene. Have the transit authorities made any announcements to try and calm fears? A little general reassurance might make a huge difference.
They began an announcement just before our train stopped, Jessica. But I believe the power to everything just died all at once. Not even emergency lighting is working. That's why we're here in total darkness. And since nobody knows when that power may come back, everyone is even more frightened of walking outside, in the dark, along tracks where the rails may come alive at any time, or even to have power restart a train which could run into unprotected citizens trying to make their way along the tunnel, and not able to tell where they are. It is all very unsettling.
Are you prepared to sit tight and try to help manage the situation, Gene? I'm sure there will be an orderly resolution sometime soon. Somebody needs to help people cope and prevent panic until then.
I am your man, Jessica. Whoever I can help, I will. Fleeing along the tunnel might put distance between you and the transit hub, but it does not solve the problem. Like I said, I think those still in this car are in reasonable control, with quite strong solidarity. I'm going to make my way through the train and try to spread that spirit. And keep an eye and ear out for potential gun-wielding terrormongers from farther up the tracks.
We'll alert authorities, Gene. But it may be that you'll see those terrorists before you see any SSO officers. Melanie's taken the subway situation at North Terminus into her own hands.
Got it. I'll try to be ready for anything. Seems this is certainly the day for it.
We're receiving a communication from what we believe to be Carmen Electra's location, but it is maddeningly garbled and distorted, so we are unsure as to whether or not it is in fact from her. Our engineering staff are doing their best to clean up the transmission, and we are recording it so that it may later reveal its true content. But for now, we can only give you a sense of what we're hearing.
I was sustained by a well-armed uniformed personnel, and I'm sure I'm being tracked on their security system. After the day I lost something my embedded comm gear, so I decided it has to go. Next day of returning me, I'll be still on site. For some reason I get the impression I'm truly not wanted here. The we're still picking this up, I know that I'm still on the case, and I do not allow the intimidation tactics to keep me under wraps. There is something really unusual going on this vessel, something somebody is taking great pains to ensure I don't find out about. So far, I have nothing concrete to pass on, but I can tell you that this is a slick, well-financed operation, and they are very careful to keep their identity concealed. No logos or obvious signs indicating who or what they are. It may be a while before you hear from me. I'm going to cut that computer out now. Next song will be from a local device. Coming up.
Not sure if you caught very much of that, but for us here at the studio, that sign-off was confirmation that Carmen is still on task, investigating as she does, on her own and relying on that unfailing intuition, which has seen her through so many crises. As soon as we can decipher the message more fully, we'll bring you a more complete transmission. In the meantime, Carmen, wherever you are, keep doing what you do.
WRAT's Graciela Perez has finally managed to connect with us from the SSAC in downtown Sewellston. Apparently, the administration and communications personnel in the center have decided to allow word to get out about what they know. Graciela, what is happening?
Vlad, it all happened in one breathless flurry of activity, and I'm still not sure exactly what prompted this sudden change. But not only have I been allowed to resume my reports, the center's staff have opened all doors to me, and I have full access to all modules down here. And the word is, well, generally speaking, not good.
What do you mean, Graciela? Is it the atmospheric crisis that has everyone so panicked?
Certainly that is part of it, Vlad. But it is far more sinister in its origins than any of us first thought. You remember that the horrific threat and chaos of Zulu 11 was originally attributed just to the centuries of poor atmospheric management and pollution control of our species? And we later discovered that that was only part of it. That the final push towards a breakdown of the meteorological system was a result of deliberate, calculated human sabotage.
I am getting the same uneasy feeling about this as you clearly have, Graciela. Yes, Zulu 11 was directly initiated by the Apostles of the Apocalypse and their satellite pumping devices. What can you tell us about our current terrifying global threat?
That from what our SSAC staff have been able to determine, our latest crisis is, as was Zulu 11, not simply the culmination of our delinquency with respect to the environment. That it appears the atmospheric disruptions are occurring at this moment because they are being triggered. Our atmosphere, just as it was during Zulu 11, is being coerced into a state of massive instability, a state which, on its present course, could readily lead to the total breakdown of all atmospheric boundaries as we know them.
You are saying that someone or something is not only able to cause these deadly fluctuations and degradations in our atmosphere, but is continuously applying disruptions that will eventually force the collapse of our atmospheric structure?
There is no eventually about it, Vlad. I am afraid that our meteorologist, David Burrell, has it just about right. Our atmosphere is collapsing, right now, very fast. That is the only thing that all here seem to agree on. What they cannot tell us, what nobody seems able to even speculate on, is who is doing this, or how. Until we can find some clues on that, we cannot even strategize on how we might stop this process. And our atmosphere will simply disintegrate around us.
Graciela, this is probably the most disturbing and the most hopeful news we have had since our current crisis began. Additional confirmation on the path to total disaster that we are currently on. But at the same time, knowing that there is something causing this sudden failure in our atmospheric system, there is now a greater hope that we may be able to halt the destruction.
True enough, Vlad. But hard to get our hopes too high. Tracking down the source, finding what is doing this, all this takes time. Time, it seems, that we simply do not have. Vlad, we at the SSAC are linked to teams of experts in many areas of the globe. Everyone is working frantically to further decipher any information we have. As soon as we have any news, good or bad, I will call it in.
Thank you, Graciela. And let us hope that it is not only good news, but that it comes very soon as well.
Hope may be all we have, Vlad. It may be all we have. A shocking confirmation of what David's been telling us for over an hour, but a new unexpected element that may change everything. Makes me somehow all the more curious to hear just exactly what's happening to Carmen in that mysterious ship above the city. And just what the ship is doing there.
Well, we know at least that the most effective teams across the globe in communications, meteorology, law enforcement, and administration are all working at capacity to decode the details of what's happening, and with luck, find a way to restore our atmospheric balance.
Luck might be just the word we need here, Jessica. And we will see whether Carmen's luck, already so far beyond the average to this point, can continue to carry us forward. In the meantime, we have a possibly metaphorical selection from the Space Cadets, their latest rebirth.
WRAT reporter Alan Ngolo has contacted us again from the beleaguered Universal Hollis Studios campus in South Stewartston, where he was awaiting news on what had happened on the set of the mysterious new production, Subversion, and above which we believe a giant, near-undetectable hover vehicle is stationed. Alan, this story has all of us on edge. What's the latest?
Jessica, my news should not disappoint. Rescue crews have finally breached the studio doors that were sealed tight by whatever crisis triggered the alarms. As soon as the door system was released, a great gout of flame jetted out into the reception area, igniting anything it touched, and nearly incinerating 2 workers at the door. Fire teams have been battling the blaze for about 5 minutes now, and making very slow headway. One thing we are all coming to grips with here though, is that nobody in that studio is still alive. It is a roaring inferno that is slowly eating its way through the walls to the surrounding structures, and at least for the moment, the fire personnel seem powerless to stop it.
I hate to even suggest this, Alan, but what does the scene look like outside that studio? Apart from the emergency teams and you, who else is there? Could this entire thing be part of the movie?
Right. Of course. Jessica, I see no obvious cameras in evidence. A mad and chaotic buzz of frantic activity, confusion and uncertainty. At least 10 or 15 studio personnel who were either not involved in this picture or who were not part of this particular scene. Come to think of it, Jessica, since I am familiar with the main cast and crew members in this production, all those I see out here now are assistants to assistants and minor supporting cast members. Not one cast or crew member of significance. All those were trapped inside.
And all very likely perished in the blaze. Is this perhaps the too real apocalyptic ending of an unsettling and disturbing movie? Could it be just surreal coincidence?
Jessica,
Stay back!
whatever it is, all of us here are still in danger. And whether part of the movie finale or not, still remains to be seen. As long as I can, I will stay on this story. I will check back, if I'm still here.
After a good deal of furious signal processing and who knows what other types of analysis, we now have a more intelligible version of Carmen Electra's last message. We now play it back for you in full.
Being pursued by well-armed, uniformed personnel, and I am sure I am being tracked on their security system. Possibly they are locked onto my embedded comm gear, so I have decided it has to go. Next they'll be telling me I'll be shot on sight. For some reason I get the impression I am truly not wanted here. If you're still picking this up, know that I am still on the case and I will not allow their intimidation tactics to keep me under wraps. There is something eerily unusual going on this vessel, something somebody is taking great pains to ensure I don't find out about. So far I have nothing concrete to pass on, but I can tell you that this is a slick, well-financed operation and they are very careful to keep their identity concealed. No logos or obvious signage indicating who or what they are. It may be a while before you hear from me. I'm going to cut that transceiver out now. Next comm will be from a local device. Carmen out.
We've been unable to track Carmen's exact location, and her subdermal transceiver has ceased to function. In her earlier broadcast, when she announced her arrival on the strange vessel she boarded, she'd indicated it was hovering over the Universal Hollywood Studios Suriston campus. Efforts by SSF personnel to identify any airborne craft at that location, either by direct visual sighting or via video camera surveillance, have so far proved ineffective. But based on Carmen's description of how this craft seemed to be not only invisible to, but also physically untouchable by vehicle traffic, it's possible that the craft is still where she described it. Or it could just as easily have decided that Carmen's very presence was a threat and moved elsewhere. The SSF... Just a second.
Hey, listen, there's a call. It's Carmen.
We've been informed we have a video connection from Carmen, coming through on a very unusual feed. She's broadcasting on a private security channel used exclusively within WRAT. We're patching her live one-way audio.
Making this more difficult than it needs to be. But one thing is for sure, this ship has media linkages like I've never seen, not even in our WRAT studios. I'm sure they'll be on me in moments, so can't talk long. Suffice to say, whatever is going on up here, the media are part of it somehow, either willingly or inadvertently. If you're hearing this at WRAT, that means you too. I'll send anything more I can, when I can. Coming up.
This is WRAT AM1700 WRAT.